Tell me whether or not you agree with me, but of the 5 core personality traits, narcissists tend to be deficit in 3 of these. One they excel in, and the other, well, it seems to just kind of be open to interpretation. Now, these 5 core personality traits, those of you who are familiar with psychology probably are very much aware of these. They use the acronym OCEAN, OCEAN, to make them easy to remember. Well, the first one is openness, and by that we simply mean receptivity. Receptive to new ideas, receptive to new experiences, and according to me, from what I've seen, narcissists just don't tend to be very open to new ideas. They don't seem to be receptive other than during that love bombing stage. Besides that, they're just not open. And the reason is, I believe, because they run on a track. It's almost as if they're preset from the factory, to use that analogy, and they can't be changed. Now, they have a little bit of wiggle room, but when it comes to their self-regulation, they just can't seem to do it. What they do really well is screw people, and they love to scam people. They love to get praise and adulation anywhere they can get it, almost as if they're kind of like addicted to it, They're dependent on it, but they're like stuck in that rut. They just can't get out of it. I don't know if you live in a place where it snows a lot, and if you are, say, I don't know, Upper Michigan, Canada, probably you're familiar with that. When you drive, you know how to drive in the snow, and you don't get stuck a lot because you've learned not to do that. Use snow tires or whatever, or you have vehicles that you drive, so you don't get stuck a lot. But those of us in Indiana, it snows a little bit in the wintertime. I don't think we're really in the snow belt. But when it does snow, we're not prepared for it because, quite frankly, it doesn't snow that much, so why spend the money getting snow tires and chains on your car and drive around in a four-wheel vehicle? Some people do, but most of us, we just take our risk. One thing I've learned about snow and ice is you don't drive your Corvette in it, because if you do, you'll be driving backwards, and you don't want to do that. But we do get stuck a lot. And once you get stuck, you can't get out. Get stuck in a ditch. I mean, what are you going to do? If you run off the road, hopefully not in a Corvette, particularly not in a convertible. But if you run off the road, get stuck in a ditch, you're stuck in a ditch. Well, narcissists seem to be stuck in the ditch, and it's not that they slid off the road. They were, it's like when the car was delivered, they delivered it to the ditch, and that's where it's always been. I don't even know why they have a car. So number 1 is openness. No, narcissists are not open to new experiences. They run on their track. Number 2 is conscientiousness. By that, we include organization, productiveness, and responsibility. So when we're talking about narcissists, but particularly covert narcissists, let's take a look at these. Organization. I've known a couple narcissists. Okay, a couple. I've known several that had narcissistic tendencies, were very controlling. And I can't remember any of them who had an aptitude for organization. What they have an aptitude for doing is taking advantage of people and, trying to find some way to boost their ego. And they're not very organized at it. They just kind of do it randomly, except for they tend to pick out individuals, select individuals who they see as being vulnerable, being gullible, and typically empaths who are nice. And that just brings the thought to mind that the narcissists love religious organizations, religious orders, particularly churches or synagogue, whatever, where people are taught to be nice. And so the narcissist will go into a church, declare himself to be just like them. If you're a Baptist, he'll say he's a Baptist. If you're a Methodist, he'll say he's a Methodist. If you're a Pentecostal, he'll do all the things Pentecostals do, because he wants you to think that he is or she is one of you. And so you accept him, and you don't see, you don't see what is underneath that. It's all fake. So they don't have a sense of organization. I've never known a narcissist or a person with strong narcissistic traits to be particularly productive. Now, the exception to that, I think, would be overt narcissists, those individuals who are psychopaths. Sometimes they make great leaders. It depends on what you mean by the word great, but I should say effective leaders. those type of narcissist psychopaths typically, well, if you find a CEO of a very successful company, just name any of them, there's a good possibility that that is a narcissist heading that company, and that is a psychopath. They just tend to run over people. But we're talking about covert narcissists. These people try to fake, being normal so they can take advantage of people. They don't seem to be very productive at all. So when it comes to number 2, conscientiousness, I'd leave them out. I'd say, no, man, they're not good at that at all. Then there's this thing about responsibility. Every single narcissist that I have ever known scores very low on just being responsible. They're just not good at it. They don't want to be good at it. I can think of a couple exceptions where a narcissist would, raise a family or whatever, responsible in that area. But that's few and far between. Most narcissists that I have known, individuals who are controllers, they just don't have, they don't have family lives. They just don't. I mean, they try to, some of them, but I know a couple guys been divorced. One guy would divorce the same woman twice, that he ran off someone else. They just not responsible. And it's hard to get them to show up on time. This has been my experience. Hard to get them to stay living in one quarters for a very long time. They're very good at getting people to allow them to live in a spare bedroom, basement, whatever. They're just constantly moving. And that is a trait, by the way, of demons. And we're going to do a video on, I don't know what I'm going to call it, or narcissist demons or demon possessed, something like that. And even those who don't believe in demons, they understand what they are, and they see those traits. So maybe from that perspective, you would say that the idea of demons were based on narcissists and psychopaths. All right, number 1 was openness. We say no. Number 2 is conscientiousness. We say no, not narcissist. Number 3 is extroversion. So we're starting to spell the word ocean. OCE, extroversion. That means they are assertive, they are sociable, and it's the opposite of being introverted, introverts and quiet. Opposite of introversion is what I meant to say. Yeah, I can't think of a single covert narcissist that wasn't overt when it came to being sociable, to being an extrovert, to being assertive. And the reason for that, I think, is because they have to be. Because they need other people to give them supply, to boost their ego, to feed their ego, to elevate their ego. What's another word we could say? Make their ego big. They got to have people, And the narcissists that I have known, they seem to have, most of them seem to have this crowd of people around them all the time. I mean, they know everybody. I knew a guy once who I suspect was just a grade A narcissist in the sense that he just had all the traits. And you go someplace with him, it didn't matter where you go. Somebody there knew him. I mean, he just knew everybody. He just made the rounds, and he got to know people over the years. I know, and this guy, by the way, that I'm thinking of, he was not on social media because he was kind of covert. He didn't want people digging into his past. He was into conspiracy theories. But another guy knew he had like thousands of friends on Facebook, social media. He couldn't possibly know that many people, but they're very sociable. They love to be extroverts because, they feed off of people. That thing where they've got to have their ego boost, they got to have their fix. They get that from people, from putting people down to make them feel better, from taking advantage of people, and so they see this as having their prey. So we would say yes to that one. All right, what about agreeableness? No, they're not agreeable, at least the ones that I know. What do you think? They don't have compassion. They're not very respectful. They don't really trust other people, and they're good at faking it. I can say that. If you've ever been love bombed by a narcissist, and I'm sure you have, ever been groomed by a narcissist, I think you have, because if you hadn't, you probably wouldn't even be watching this video. But during that phase, they can pretend to be very compassionate. So they know how that works. They just can't do it themselves. They're just observers, and they're masking, and they're actors. So they can pretend to be compassionate. They can pretend to care, and they want to get you to the point where you are convinced they're just that good. They ought to win a Grammy. I mean, all of them. I don't know how many million narcissists there are out there, but every single one of them ought to have a Grammy. Say, Narcissist of the Year. They not very respectful. You know that if you have a covert narcissist in your life, yeah, they respect you for a short while. Then once you've been sufficiently duped, that respect goes out the window. That mask comes off very quickly, very early in the relationship. They don't trust other people, but they want other people to trust them because I think it's probably that they see other people the way they see themselves, untrustworthy. So if you don't trust yourself, then you assume everyone thinks the way you do, and so you think those other people can't be trusted. So you take advantage of them because they take advantage of you anyhow. That's kind of the mindset of the narcissist. Well, okay, so we have openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness. So far we say that narcissists are deficient in 3 of those: openness, conscientiousness, and agreeableness. But extroversion, yeah, they score very high on that. That leaves us one more. That is the N, or neuroticism. Now, by neuroticism, we mean tendencies toward anxiety and depression, and this is the one I'm really not sure about. Because narcissists are so good at masking that even after the discard, there are a lot of people, psychologists that I've read about online, who say narcissists have this hidden side that they never ever show, but deep down inside, when they're home alone, or somebody else's home usually, late at night, and they're trying to get to sleep, and that's when the depression comes out. That's when the anxiety comes out. I don't know about that, because I've never seen that side of a narcissist, but it could be. So are they neurotic? Do they have this tendency toward anxiety and depression? I don't really know. But you've had experience with narcissists, so based on your life's laboratory, let us know what you think. Does the N apply to narcissists? There are 2 rectangles on the screen. If you want our conversation to continue, what you can do is you can click on one of those 2 rectangles. But, our conversation will continue. But if not, well, thanks for stopping by, and see you all next time.